Tourist was made like with blinders, very deliberately. Let's not look at what anyone else is doing. Let's take a motel room, pull the pieces apart, look at the 50 pieces and go, well, these 30 are great. Let's get rid of the things we don't want, and let's add some things that we want. We just wanted it to be the best we could possibly make it. So this is a cool spot where you can really see how the light and air has impacted different parts of the building differently. And then there's this like beautiful blonde thing down here. I imagine when most people pick a spot to build a hotel, they're studying analytics and have some understanding of how many people. It wasn't like that. We all loved North Adams deeply, and the more time we spent here, the more we loved it. And I think the central attitude among the participants was, let's build the place we want to stay at. My partners in the project are my brother and my brother-in-law, and my cousin Scott, who started Brooklyn Magazine, and John Steerat, who's the bass player from Wilco, and John, who's just traveled the country and eventually the world and has a natural interest in hospitality, has a lot of interesting thoughts. But one of them was to try to find a building that embodied the spirit of the place in which it was set. We had a few different locations in mind and very quickly settled on North Adams as the spot, and eventually stumbled sideways into the Redwood Motel. The Redwood Motel was built in 1962 by the Shea family, and it was very typical of a mid-century motel, and so instantly thought that would be an interesting building type to play with. Scroll down, TripAdvisor, no joke, the first review is, not fit for human inhabitation. And if you do what I do for a living, that's exciting. We were able to figure out an agreement to buy the property and thought at the time, maybe this will be 6 months. We'll take an 18-room motel, turn it on its head. It'll be really interesting, creatively fulfilling, and it snowballed. Tourist is a lodge, 48 keys that make a 750-foot-long snake shaped kind of like a J. And then there's a bridge that we built which connects to the other side of the Hoosic River. And that's the heart of Tourist today. This is the lodge and is in so many ways where you want to be when you're not in your room at Tourist, particularly in the winter, and there's a fire going right there. This is all the original framing. I think what's really cool is that when people make buildings, there's this repetition, but then there's also a sense that it's not going to be seen, so you can hodgepodge things together. You know, like this situation right here, this lintel that's like just wood that was put there to space out the sheetrock wall, and we left it because it's more interesting than if it were perfect. Rooms 1 to 30. Motels, motor hotels, are a huge part of this region's history. And there's this certain repetitive iconography to the motel that is beautiful. In the way that in 1962, the road held a lot of appeal and interest, today people are more interested in the floodplain behind the hotel. And so pretty quickly, we had this idea of moving the windows to the back of the hotel, which would also allow us to really clarify the repetition on the front and just get rid of the windows. So it's door, 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 door. And you get this 750-foot-long repetitive building. So this is the door to room 1. In theory, when you walk in this door, you're stepping through a portal, and for the rest of your stay at Tourist, you'll be walking in and out of the back door in the room. Also, when you open the door, the first thing that hits you right in the face is the view out the back, and that was very much by design. So you have a daybed, a desk, the main bed, side table, dresser, the television. We covered our televisions just so they're not a part of the visual experience of the room unless you want them to be, because once you put a TV in a room, everything just kind of revolves around it. It's like being at the airport or something. I wanted, in creating the rooms, to really create a space that was visually uncluttered and basically a presentation of the ecology outdoors. And so the room became this white box, and the materiality was really simplified in order to really keep the emphasis looking outward. One of the coolest things about using a natural material is that the way that the light and air hits it changes all the coloration. And this is really black here, and then it kind of comes up and it's different. And what's so cool is you really can't predict it. I mean, it's this living organism that's evolving in the way that real things do. One of the biggest challenges with our site was how do you get from one side to the other? It turns out that a suspension bridge was not only more cost-effective than a traditional bridge, but it was also a great experience. And this little give that it has is sort of part of the charm. So you can walk this way and see some sculptures, the yoga platform, go to the Appalachian Trail, hopefully someday get to Massmoka on a bike trail. Massmoka is a contemporary art center, and its arrival in North Adams 20 years ago was groundbreaking in a lot of ways. To me, the biggest one is the buildings. They took this 18 or 20 building industrial campus and turned it into a contemporary art museum and changed it as little as they possibly could. I started learning about the history of tourism in North Adams as a part of what I was doing. And pretty quickly you find that 150 years ago, there was a tourism business that would eclipse what's here today. Pretty quickly, you ask yourself, why were they coming here? There was no Massmoka. Well, they were coming here because of the ecology. And all of those landmarks that the postcards identify and the tourism books identified, the waterfalls and the mountaintops, they're all still here. I probably bought 2,000 postcards while we were putting the project together. It really turns you on to what the attractions were. You get a real sense as to what people did in the past. If you had a accommodation business, the world's biggest ball of rubber bands, a driving range, anything that tourists would want, you would put a sign out front that said tourists, which was just amazing. And initially the idea was, well, maybe we should open a bar called Tourists and have an arrow with the word tourists on it. Wouldn't that be funny? And then eventually it evolved that became the name of the hotel. As I got further and further into understanding the community and understanding what a special spot this is in this community and how it's irreplaceably beautiful, I mean, I just feel privileged to be able to touch it. I hope to do well by this opportunity. I hope to do well by this spot, because there aren't two of them.